they always said I'm wrong, but what they doing today? I think they want me gone, but I ain't going away. They told me I was wrong, but look at my ass today. Da 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 da.
Yo, what's up everybody? What is going on the Real Sports Talk? What's good on the internet? What's good in sports? What's good in life? I'm Akiem, also known as LI495 by some on YouTubes. But anyway, welcome once again to yet another edition of 10 Minutes on the Clock, our weekend recap show here on the Real Sports Talk Network. So let's get right to it. And as I've been starting all of these episodes here for NFL season, I'm gonna recap what I saw in the Thursday night game. And this week we had the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers, and it was the 49ers defeating the Seahawks at Candlestick Point by a final score of 13-6. 13-6. This is the kind of score that you would see when the San Francisco Giants and the Seattle Mariners are meeting up in an interleague matchup, and both are having pretty good offensive days. 13-6, 49ers over the Seattle Seahawks. And really, the way that all of this turned out was, it wasn't passing or anything like that. It wasn't like a quarterback throwing for 200 or some odd yards or something like that, 300 some odd yards. It was really all about the running game. If you're into the running game, if you're into old school kind of football where it's all about, as they like to say, beating them in the trenches, this was your kind of game. 13-6, 49ers over the Seahawks, but this was your kind of game if you like that kind of football. Frank Gore, huge game for San Francisco. 16 carries, 131 yards. Not to mention, he was also San Francisco's leading receiver as well. Five receptions for 51 yards. Actually had more yards than their other leading receiver, Michael Crabtree. And Marshawn Lynch had a pretty good game as well. 19 carries, 103 yards. Also had one reception for a 13-yard game. A 13-yard gain from Russell Wilson. But really, this whole game was really all about the running game. The running game's pretty much dominated. It was a kind of old school football game, and not only was it the running games that dominated, it was also the defenses. You know you're doing something right. The defenses, that is, when you hold another team to only 13 points in this league, and it was only 13-6, only 19 points overall scored. That is a testament to what we've seen so far in this NFC Western Division. You want to know why me and a lot of other people are all of a sudden starting to call the NFC West the best, the NFC best, the best division perhaps in football? It's because of their defenses, and Seattle's and San Francisco's are certainly forces to be reckoned with on the defensive end. I believe that the Seahawks and the 49ers have two of the top 10 defenses in all of the NFL. So when you look at that, when you look at the way that this game turned out, it was all about the defenses. This is what you call NFC West football in 2012. Defense, defense, defense. You're not going to see a lot of 300-yard passing games from these quarterbacks. How they're going to win games? They're going to win games in the trenches. They're going to win games smash mouth, and they're going to win games really based on the defenses. This was NFC West football we saw on Thursday night, and I think between Seattle, San Francisco, not to mention Arizona and St. Louis, we're going to be seeing a heck of a lot more of that coming down the pipe this season, as this season continues to progress into Week 7. So once again, 49ers over the Seahawks, 13-6. Huge day for Frank Gore, not to mention a huge day on both teams, really, for the defenses. Now, on to my Week 7 picks. Speaking of Week 7, on to my Week 7 picks, and I'm going to try and speed this up a little bit because I also want to get into the MLB postseason and the way that's been coming about. I want to take the New Orleans Saints over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like the New York Giants over the Washington Redskins. Baltimore Ravens and the Houston Texans. Of course, the Ravens have been really hit this week, of course, by losing Ray Lewis, torn triceps, rest of the season, possibly out for possibly this is the last time we'll be seeing Ray Lewis on a football field. Possibly, I don't think so. I don't think number 52 is going to wind up going out like this with a torn triceps and an injury. I think he's going to want to retire on his own terms, not let some injury dictate. I would be surprised if he doesn't decide. I know there's some stuff about how he wants to go down to Florida to see his son play at the University of Miami, but I would be shocked if Ray Lewis does not come back next season. He's got too much pride in him, and I think he is going to somehow find some way to come back. And not only is Lewis out, but also Lardarius Webb also out for the Baltimore Ravens. And not only do the Ravens have all these problems with injuries, not only are they banged up, even though it looks like Terrell Suggs is going to be coming back, but also the Baltimore Ravens cannot stop the run if their you-know-what's dependent on it, if their butt's dependent on it. I mean, they cannot stop the run worth beans. They gave up 200, and the thing about it was that the Ravens' rush defense was actually getting better their first 4 games, and then they run into the buzzsaws known as the Kansas City Chiefs and the Dallas Cowboys, and all of a sudden, they gave up 200-plus rushing yards in 2 consecutive games and find some way to win both of them. They won the Kansas City Chiefs game because the Kansas City Chiefs offense outside of Jamal Charles really can't do jack bull, and they somehow were able to win the game against the Dallas Cowboys, really behind the back of a Jacoby Jones 109-yard kickoff run. So really, they were able to win both of those games, really, one with defense and the other with special teams. But the Ravens have a lot of issues, and they're going up against the Houston Texans, which just got pounded last week on Sunday Night Football against the Green Bay Packers. And not to mention, one guy who is not injured, Arian Foster. Give me the Texans at home over the Baltimore Ravens. They got to stop the run if they expect to win this game, even with all these injuries. Browns and Colts, even though the Colts did not have a very great game last week against the New York Jets, of all teams, going into the Meadowlands, and actually got their butts whooped. The Cleveland Browns and Brandon Williams have actually been showing some progress, as I talked about, over the past few weeks. And this is actually going to be my upset pick of the week. Cleveland over Indianapolis going into Lucas Oil Stadium, and I say beating the Indianapolis Colts probably by, let's say, a couple of field goals going into Indy to beat them. Green Bay Packers and the St. Louis Rams. Again, I talked about NFC West defenses at Indy Open when I was talking about the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers, but if we see that same Green Bay Packer team that we saw in Houston, I like the Packers big over the St. Louis Rams, even though the Texans last week really beat themselves also. It's not just the Green Bay Packers that beat them. The Texans also beat themselves with some dumb behind penalties. It was like they were the Oakland Raiders in disguise. Arizona Cardinals and the Minnesota Vikings, and we're going to speed up through this a little bit. Arizona Cardinals and the Minnesota Vikings, I like the Vikings in that. Titans and the Bills, give me Buffalo. Cowboys and the Carolina Panthers, I like Dallas. Jets, Patriots, New England, I think will win that game. Jaguars and Raiders, I actually like the Raiders to win. That's probably another upset pick. And the Steelers and the Bengals, even though the Steelers have been struggling as of late, particularly, they lost last week to the Tennessee Titans of all teams. This is another upset pick, believe it or not. Bengals over the Steelers. And the Lions and the Bears on Monday Night Football, I like Chicago to win that. So just a quick rundown of my picks, because I also want to get a little bit into the MLB playoffs. I like the New Orleans Saints over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Giants over the Redskins, Texans over the Ravens, Browns over the Colts, Packers over the Rams, Vikings over the Cardinals, Bills over the Titans, Cowboys over the Panthers, Patriots over the Jets, Jaguars over the Raiders over the Jaguars, Bengals over the Steelers, Bears over the Lions, my Week 7 picks. Actually, a lot of teams are on bye week this week. The Falcons are on bye week, the Broncos are on bye week, the Chiefs are on bye week. They need it. The Dolphins are on bye week. The Eagles are on bye week. They need it, especially after all the turmoil and commotion they've been going through up in Philadelphia with the firing of their defensive coordinator Juan Castillo. And the San Diego Chargers are also on bye week. And you saw the way that second half of that Monday Night Football game went against the Denver Broncos and Peyton Manning. You know that the Chargers definitely need a bye week. So also 6 teams this week on bye week going into Week 7, and also a little bit, because I don't have much time, a little bit going into the MLB postseason. What about the New York Yankees? I think I scored more runs probably playing collegiate baseball, and there's not even collegiate baseball going on right now, than I think I did in this entire postseason for the New York Yankees. What was it, 185, 186, 188 that the Yankees hit overall, and who knows where it wouldn't have been if it wasn't for Raul Ibanez bailing the Yankees out against the Baltimore Orioles, and for a little bit in that game 2, if I'm not mistaken. It was game 1 or game 2. Raul Ibanez almost bailed the Yankees out again against the Detroit Tigers. But you can't clone Raul Ibanez, and even he withered away. Not to mention A-Rod. It looks like he was going on, the Derek Jeter injury. A-Rod having escapades, flirting with chicks. Curtis Granderson, Nick Swisher. Nobody showed up for the New York Yankees as the Detroit Tigers, behind great pitching and timely offense, really, behind their pitching staff. Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, even Doug Fister. They beat the New York Yankees, swept the New York Yankees in 4, and they will be advancing to the World Series. And last night, the Giants got themselves a huge win over the St. Louis Cardinals, really fueled by the Lance Lynn error in the 4th inning, because if it wasn't for that Lynn error, probably what would have happened is that the score would have probably been still tied. The Giants may still have won, but really that 4-run 4-inning behind that Lance Lynn error really was the catalyst behind the San Francisco Giants win. Another struggle for Lance Lynn, another game where he just cannot get out of the 4th inning. So once again, rate, comment, react, reply, add, subscribe. Look forward to reading your comments. As always, I'm just one guy talking about nothing. I apologize once again for going way into overtime on this edition of 10 Minutes on the Clock, but I just felt that I had to get the MLB playoffs as well, in addition to all the NFL stuff that's going on. So rate, comment, react, reply, add, subscribe. Look forward to reading your comments. As always, I'm just one guy talking about nothing. Let's enjoy Week 7 and continue to enjoy the MLB playoffs. So until next time, LI495, and also congratulations to the Detroit Tigers on advancing to the World Series. Could we be seeing a 2006 rematch? See you on the internet someplace.
Just a little bit around the corner from fear.